actual sphere. This is where things come in now. I've boiled things down to like 7 value steps for a three-dimensional form. You got your shadow, halftone, the light or the body, I call it sometimes, the shadow terminator or the core. You got the cast shadow sometimes if the object is actually on the ground or a ground plane. Sometimes objects can be in the air. Or reflected light. Sometimes you'll have reflected light. That helps on making things look three-dimensional and round. Sometimes there is no reflected light. So that's all up to the whatever you're trying to depict. And some of the necessary painting concepts, you got to understand and practice the blending of your tones to describe the form, soft and hard edges, and mainly value contrast. We did some value contrast here, as you can see. Values are very important. Now, when we do this, as we do this sphere, I'm going to show you how I use these 7 steps right here. So the first one we're going to do, we're going to put a shadow in this. Right now it's a circle. It's a 2-dimensional form known as a circle. Now we're going to develop this into a sphere. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the shadow in. Okay, here we go with the shadow. Now for the shadow, it's all arbitrary. We're going to put in, let's see, we're going to pick a tone. And I think we will put in, like we did this one, let's see. We used the background is a number 2. Now remember, we don't want it as dark as the background. So we're going to go to value 3. We're going to, just like the box, we're going to put a value 3. Now this is a little more, how should we say, involved. You got to follow the form. Anytime you're painting anything, you always remember, follow the form. And since this is you got to think of this as not being flat. You got to think of it as being round. So the first thing we want to do is put in our shadow to follow the form. Remember, the light's coming from the upper right. We don't want the shadow to be the same color as the background, or it will merge into the background and disappear. We're following the form with our shadow. As far as how much shadow, that's up to you. But for this practical purposes, just kind of follow me on this demonstration. So we're going to be a crescent, like a crescent moon. We're going to put about this much in here. Okay, basically we've got our shadow color. Number 1, a shadow tone, shadow tone. Now, halftone. The halftone is just the part that's in between the shadow and the light. So for that, let's see, we want to go, we did the shadow was, value number 3. We're going to do a halftone of a value number 5. We're going to jump up. We're going to take this value right here, value 5, for a halftone. And that follows the same form, the halftone. And it should just be a little lighter, enough of a change in value from the shadow. Around here, we've got to put this, if you notice I'm not blending the tones yet. We're going to put all our values down first. Okay, halftone should be something about like that. Now we wipe off our brush again. Wipe that brush off. Going in between the values. Now that was the halftone. Now we're going to number 3, which is the light. Sometimes I call it the body. It's the local light. It's different terms. So local light, that was number 5 for the halftone. We're going to skip value 6. We're going to go to value 7. This is for the light. This is the actual light of that surface. This is the light. Get all your values on here first. Now, if you'll notice, this is what I do with the light. To simply locate it, I'll put a little thin value, that same value, around that edge. When you have a ball, it's like the earth. It constantly is to show that it's round and not flat. That value goes around this edge, ever so slightly. Now we're gonna paint some more of that in here. Now that was value 7, and we're going to go up to another value, value 8. We're going to finish it off with value 8. Okay, we've got all our values on there right now, so we'll proceed. Well, I wipe the brush off again. We will proceed to blend, going in one direction. Even though you see my brush moving around left to right, right to left, it still goes in one direction as I blend. And I'm blending in a circular motion. Now I'll go this way. Blending in a circular motion because that's the form. Blending in a circular motion. Wiping my brush off again because I'm going to blend into mid-tone. Now some of this may seem a little hard sometimes. I'll turn my brush to the edge just slightly. Just slightly. Usually, something like this, I'd use a bigger brush. But to keep everything simple, I'm using the same size brush. I'm wiping this off again, wiping my brush off again. Now, going into the shadow. Blending the halftone into the shadow. Bring this halftone into the shadow. And what I'm going to do is use this is a number 8. I'm going to use my number 12 to really blend it decent. This is a bright number 12. See, it's a little wider, number 12. Now what I usually do to get the brush kind of flexible and warmed up is I'll take my regular pad and I'll just do the brush by itself like this to kind of get the bristles warm and ready, kind of flexible. Now that I've got them kind of flexible, this blends a lot better. And you vary your pressure. Get those values blended in. Wipe my brush off again. Right at those areas where those values meet, we were trying to maybe apply a little bit of pressure. Wipe the brush off. Now I'll go back to my, now we've got the shadow, halftone, the light. Now we're going to do the terminator, or the shadow core. The shadow core is the area in the shadow that's darkest. And it's usually right about where the shadow ends and the halftone begins. And it's a little bit darker, so you can, what we're going to do, the shadow was a value 3, we're going to take a value 2, and we're going to follow the form. Follow the form all the way around like this. We're going to have the shadow core the widest right in here. Follow that form best you can. Wipe the brush off. Now we're going to blend in that shadow core. I'm just going to go along the edges for that shadow core to blend that in. Now what I'll do here too is take my number 12 brush again. And just kind of blend that in. Follow the shape of the surface. Like that. Now, that's our shadow core. Now we're going to do a cast shadow. We're going to do a cast shadow. Now, cast shadows, as I said, are the darkest right up under the actual object, and they kind of fade out. So for our cast shadow, first we're going to do, for the outer area, we're going to do a value 3 for the outer area of the cast shadow. To about right, maybe right here. So I'm going to do it to about right here. Wipe the brush off. Then we're going to do a value 3, no, value 2. Value 2. And we want to blend that right on in. And that like that. We come up under here. Wipe our brush off a little bit more value 2. Now to get this little area, take my time and get right here. right to the edges. Wipe the brush off again. Wipe the brush real good this time. And we want to lighten the edge of that cast shadow. So I'm going to a value 1, 2, 3. I'm going to value 4. I'm just put some 4 right here. Kind of blend it toward that way. That's the value 4. Now I wipe my brush off real good. Now I'm going into black. Value number 1. I'm going to put that right up under here. Right up under there. And blend it out some. Blend it out. Wipe the brush off real good. Blend this area somewhat. Wiping the brush off is very important so you don't have a lot of paint under it. I'm wiping the brush again. Going back into value number 1. Putting it right up under here. Now remember, what we're going to do on down the way when this dries, we're going to go back into it to restate these values to really make them pop. Now, wiping the brush off real good and blending just a little blend right in here. I'm going to take some more of value number 1, the black. I'm going to put it right up here in the front. Right under here. Now once that dries, when we put extra value on top of that, the same values, it really pop. Now what I'm looking at now, the Terminator, I think I'll make a little darker. So we use value 2 for the Terminator. I'll go back into value 2. I'm going to restate that again. This is our shadow core. This is the darkest part of any circular shadow, any sphere. It really kind of makes the form. It really makes the form. You can really see the form with that shadow core. It really adds something, especially when you're doing anatomy. And we just go around and we'll blend it. We're going in one direction. Now we'll go, see, I didn't put one other thing on here, which we will do. Since this is sitting on the actual table, we're going to use, we're going to put some reflected light on it. Wipe our brush off again. Wipe our brush off. Now we're going to use a reflected light. Now, the reflected light is not as light as the regular light. It's the light that bounces from the surface, and it's right in the shadow. So sometimes you have to try different ones. We're going to try, because right now we're painting wet into wet, and sometimes the paints blend. So we're going to try a value, let's see, 6. We'll try a value 6 right here. And we're going to do this reflected light. See if we can get some reflected light over here. We follow the form again. Almost bright enough. Now I go to value 7. This time I'm going to put it right in the one little area here. Maybe a little bit more value 7. Now we get this contrast between the reflected light and the cast shadow. Wipe the brush off, then go back and Kind of blend that a little bit. Got reflected light. And now, for the highlight, our first highlight is going to kind of blend into the light because it is wet into wet. But after this dries, we're going to go back in a day or two and really put the highlight on. But right now, we're going to figure out if this light's coming in kind of arbitrarily. We're going to put it about right here. I put that down. I'm wiping the brush off. I'm wiping the excess off. That's the way I like to do it. I'm going around. I'm following the form. Following the form. Circular. Blend the edges. Wipe the brush off again. And we'll just keep kind of feathering that out. And maybe we'll put a little bit more white in there. Let's see, we'll a little bit more right here. Kind of put it into the canvas pretty good. Wipe my brush off again. Wiping the brush is very important so that you don't just waste a lot of time moving paint. When you move it, it should be for a reason. You get too much, you'll just be sloshing it around. So this is going to be kind of a halo effect around the highlight. Like I said, once it dries, now initially what we're going to do right now is put a little kind of a spectral highlight. Something like that. And I think I'm going to lighten up that reflected light area. Like this. Real lightly. Reflected light. I like a lot of reflected light. Peter Paul Rubens had a lot of reflected light in his paintings. Now a little reflected light down here. And I'm going to wiping the brush off real good now. I'm going to darken this shadow core just a little bit more right here. Now this time I'm going to take my number 12 brush. I'm just going to line it on these edges of the shadow core, like this. Follow the edge around. And hopefully you get a good shot at that. We have our sphere. I'm wiping the brush off pretty good. And I'm just touching up a couple of areas that I see. Now, as I said, once this is dry, we'll go back into it at a later time and darken up some of the shadows, especially around the shadow core, the cast shadows. We'll darken them up a little bit. And maybe even some of that background. I can see a couple of little areas that I would like to maybe darken. So we get more of a contrast. Like I can see right now, I probably would maybe do a little something right here in this area. Get some real contrast. For our sphere. As you can see, that's the contrast between the way you get three-dimensional form is you got to have some contrast between the values. There are no lines, there are only edges. One value meets another value. That's the way you do it. And the one item that I forgot to put on here was after reflected light, the last thing you want to do is hit it with highlight. That's a highlight. So right now we've done just part one, and we'll go back into this once it's dry. I'll come back into it and kind of embellish things a little bit, some of our shadows and all. And hopefully you learned a little something from that. This is just dealing with black and white. Only you're dealing with just form. Color is a whole other animal. So this is only part one. Part two, we're going to come back and we're going to do the cylinder, and we're going to do a cone. This time we're going to do a graduated background. We're going to go from dark down to light as though it was the sky. And it's going to look a little bit different than that one. This one is a flat background. This one is going to be a graduated background, a gradient from dark to light. Then we'll put our, we'll use the same values, and we'll put in our cylinder and our cone. So I'll be seeing you shortly.